Hello, peeps. Welcome to another edition of the Culture and People cast. Today we have Tammy Belton Davis with us. Tammy, thanks for being here. And in a few sentences, would you tell us who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. And thank you for having me here. I'm excited to participate. So, who is Tammy? Who is Athena Communications? A Milwaukee bred native ambassador for my city. Started Athena Communications about 12 years ago. Proud Alverno graduate, NPS graduate, mom, and wife, and also entrepreneur, to add to that list of things that I am doing. And then I would be remiss not to acknowledge that I'm also serving as Chief Diversity Officer with Milwaukee Rep. I would say, just in terms of who Athena is, we're, multi-generational, um, full service public relations, government affairs, and strategic communications firm. And we have largely committed ourselves to working on transformational projects. And so, really, at the core of our mission is that we want to change the world. And we believe that if we were not PR and communications professionals, we'd be doing the work that our clients are doing, which is changing lives and changing communities. And so we get to have a front seat at some amazing work that is happening locally and nationally.
Oh my gosh, I love that, Athena. And just a few things I was telling Athena, since people from all over the world, and especially all over the US, of course, are on this show. But so when somebody from Milwaukee, where I'm at, is on the show, I get super stoked because I love this city too. And I was raised by hippies. So I have roots that say wherever you are, you better be making it better. Right.
Yes.
And another connection point that you and I did not make, I got my MBA at Alverno.
Is
So I'm
that right?
also a proud Alverno grad. Yes.
I love it.
Yes. All right. So you have been in this space of influencing people and culture in a variety of ways for a while. And we say people and culture, I think that means in our community, and that then stems into our world of work. So we can define that however we want to do that. But for you, what's the best part of this work?
The best part of engaging people is knowing that you're making a difference.
Mhm.
And really, I live by the premise that to whom much is given, much is required. I don't know if I have been built to be a machine operator or to function with, some kind of like sterile product or machine all day. Like, I just really am a person who engages people where they are, and I feel a deep connection to real change. And so I think the people piece of our business, but also I think the people piece of me as an individual, like relationships are important. Having connections, real connections to people is hugely important to me. So whether that is family, that's friends, that's circles, that's the work, all of that is deeply connected to who I am. And at the core, I really see myself as a change agent. And so I think being a catalyst to connect people to others is hugely important to me. Being a catalyst to advance work that I think is important, being a catalyst to tell the stories that I think that matter. So when we talk about Milwaukee, one of the things that I am so committed to doing is not only changing the narrative, but
Mm.
advancing a new narrative about our city and our community. Oftentimes there we lift the challenges, and we have significant challenges and work
Yeah.
to do,
Yeah.
but there's incredible people who are on the ground, in corporate spaces, in diverse
Mhm.
spaces, making a difference. And so being able to tell the story of our strength and resilience, is also very important, and it requires people, to
Mm.
do that. And so I feel, incredibly blessed to be able to do the work that absolutely fuels my soul.
Oh, I love it. I can hear it. That's so great. And it permeates through what we do, and we really are in alignment with the work. So, question here, this is certainly during COVID, but probably before COVID, hearing from a lot of leaders, both in the community and in workplace, right? Engaging their humans is a challenge, right? Engaging them in the real work is a challenge.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts?
There is no question that, and I'm always very, it is important to me that we're living through two pandemics. So there is the
Yes.
virus that has, literally brought this nation and the world to its knees.
Mm.
But there's a 400-year-old pandemic that is also being centered in the public discourse and in our conversations. And so I think helping people to manage through, what seems like very cliches is, these are the most incredible times of our lives. And people are saying, I've never, experienced this in a lifetime. And it feels like an understatement.
Mhm.
But it is a testament, I think, of, it is just absolutely overwhelming. And so my team, if I can focus on the Athena team, one of the things that was hugely important to us that as this virus hit, and we needed to make the transition to engaging each other in a virtual platform because the opportunity to engage in person, as all of us have had to adjust, it was not there. And
Mhm.
so it was important to me at that time to do check-ins. Like, I don't want to talk about the work. I don't want to talk about what is happening and what
Mm.
client projects that we have to get done. The work has to get done. But if you all are not good, if you're not taking care of self, the work can't be advanced anyway. And so we spent, I would say, those first couple months spending quite a bit of our check-ins when we would get together as a team to say, what's new and good? How are you taking care of self? What are you doing to disconnect? Encouraging them to find joy in their existence, because again, what we have faced recently on January 6th, what we have faced back in May and June
Yep.
with the murder of George Floyd, what we're
Mhm.
facing with our pandemic that seems to have a second wind,
Yeah.
like there seems to be no reprieve. So we've got to
Right.
create it. We've got to
Mhm.
create those moments that we exhale and create those moments where we say, I'm choosing to disconnect. And so to me, the most important value for any leader, any cultural leader or any people leader, is to really model self-care, model being selfish, self-focused, because again, if we're not taking care of self, the work doesn't happen. Who we are and who we need to be to our spouses, our partners, our children,
Mm.
it just does not move forward if we're not healthy. And
Yeah.
I have not mastered this, so I'm not
Right, right.
suggesting I have perfected this. I am preaching to myself.
Yes,
And
all the
I
time.
am reaffirming to Tammy that these are things that you
Mm.
need to do. But it is hugely important, I think, with all of us across the spectrum, whatever our role is or responsibility, that we are mindful
Mm.
of our own self-care needs.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's so amazing. I used to kind of like nails on a chalkboard when I heard that phrase, like if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. But to me, I mean, being a mama or not, like what we're saying, what in essence that phrase is saying, like if you cannot take care of yourself, you can't take care of anyone else, right? You're
Right.
not going to be able to spread your mission. So let's get really tactical because I strongly agree with you on the being self-focused and taking care of yourself. What
Mhm.
is so we're saying the way that we can advance culture and people practices in our communities and in our workplaces, it starts with us. But what are some very tactical habits or behaviors that you could recommend to people that they could do tomorrow to know they're moving the needle?
Absolutely. One of the things that is really challenging for me, but I'm going to lift this for all of us because, again, what I am sharing is for Tammy as well as your
Mm.
listeners, and that is disconnecting,
Yeah.
taking the opportunity. We're in information overload. So whether we're checking phones or we're getting notifications or we are watching cable news or doing the things to receive that information, we need moments of quiet and
Yeah.
we need moments to not take in the information. So one, on the top of my list is let it go. So the
Mhm.
information pool that we often are pulling from, I would, those are one of the things that I would definitely encourage. The other piece that I think is absolutely in alignment is the mindfulness practice. Now, again, being fully transparent, I have noise all day long, every day. But I am reminded by people who practice mindfulness how important it is to get quiet
Yes.
and to
Yes.
get still and
Mhm.
to be very mindful of breathing and mindful of your surroundings. And the last thing that I lived across Athena, but also in my work with Milwaukee Rep, is find the joy. And I'm
Mhm.
going to say that one more time. Find the joy in the midst of chaos, in the midst of uncertainty, in the
Mhm.
midst of all the things that we're enduring in this season and time. Being able to tap into joy is so important. There's a difference between happiness. Happiness is how I feel. Joy is a choice. Joy is actionable. It is, I am going to be determined to find something good. I'm going to be determined to find a piece of my life that I can lift in this moment, a conversation, a book, a treat to with your favorite dessert or a beverage of choice. Like, I find the joy in getting a cup of coffee in the morning. And so those small things that we may think are insignificant have
Mhm.
huge benefits to our mental health, have huge benefits to our ability to be productive. So those are very, specific ways as individuals that we can do it. And the last thing that I think what we can demonstrate within the workplace and within our culture is being a beacon of hope within our workplaces.
Mhm.
So, looking for opportunities to celebrate, to acknowledge when there's a colleague or team member or supervisor or whomever is a part of your organizational culture, look for opportunities to celebrate. People need to know that they are appreciated. People want to know that they feel valued. And why not you be the one to uplift and encourage someone else? So, those are my tips.
Oh, I love them. 4 great tips. Thank you for those. So let's do just a quick, because I know you and I both have to go in a few minutes. So we're going to honor our time. Who would you shout out as doing good work in the either workplace or community around people and culture that you just want to acknowledge, or maybe even as a guest on the show?
You know who I'm going to lift, who I actually have a call with right after this, is Dominique Samari, who is a partner with P3 Development Group. Dominique is an amazing facilitator. She's an amazing, just an amazing human being who I think is a great example of understanding culture, understanding how to engage people. Has recently, I'm just going to shout this out for her, has recently launched a series of blogs about her own experiences working in the
Okay.
diversity and inclusion space. So Dominique's going to be at the top of my list.
Good. Well, we will link in the comments of LinkedIn and in our show notes on the other platforms. We will link to her blog so that we can
Right.
give her a shout out there. And let's do really quick. Like, is there a top resource of yours that has advanced your own thinking
Mhm.
around culture and people?
So I'm going to say that I have currently read a number of biographies, memoirs that have resonated with me. So certainly at the top of the list is President Obama's recent memoir, and I've read Sunny Hostin's memoir and Valerie Jarrett. But there is one that I'm reading right now that has, which is not a memoir, and that is Andrew Cuomo talks about lessons learned on the battlefield facing COVID-19. So,
Oh.
and I can't, the book escapes my name.
We'll look it up. We'll look it up
um,
and we'll put it
but
in. I
yes,
want to read it. That sounds
it's
amazing.
a
I know that
great
he's been
one.
a great thought partner during this time. So thank you for the resources. And listen, Athena, this has been great. Thank you for expanding my Milwaukee network. It's so good to be connected to you. And I really appreciate everything you're doing for people and culture.
Great. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, sending everybody peace and progress.